United States of America. Unity and oneness is what we're made of. One nation under God, it's plain to see. We're showing the whole world what a country should be. United we stand in America, hand in hand in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. It is Wednesday, July the 22nd, and this month is almost over as we continue into summertime. We are live at the Acts Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. This is show number 301. What a blessing that we've had people watching our show all over the country and around the world, watching our show and trying to find hope. There's so many people. Back when we were having COVID, we found out, Dr. Mary Byrne and I did, that you know what, that people just had run out of hope. And certainly if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you don't have any hope, okay? If you want hope and you want eternity, life for eternity, so you love your family, you love your friends on this earth right now in this life, but if you don't have Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, then you will not have life in eternity, and you will miss being with your family and friends the rest of your eternal life. Okay? So that's how simple it is, and people, get a pencil and paper, keep it handy, because I'm going to give you some things throughout the show, and we've got a great show lined up today, and you're going to learn something, and I think this is really going to be interesting. But 4321, so write this down, 4321 ACTS, @gmail.com. And you want to keep that, because if there's anything that you want to hear on our show, any topics, Dr. Mary Byrne and I can find any topic for you. I know she's smart enough, she can find the topics for you. And we'll get the experts. Just like today, we have an expert. We have difference makers every week that's on our show. And we can get the people to help you find the solutions to the problems that you're looking for. Okay? So be sure and do that. And we're going to actually give a book away after a while. We'll talk about that. Again, yeah, that book right there. And so we definitely want to make sure that you comment to us. We had Axe Fest last weekend, and it was great. And I understand from Dennis, our volunteer producer, that we've got about 4 hours, 2 hours on Friday and 2 hours on Saturday that's been recorded. And we're going to tell you, if you ask us on 4321 ACTS @gmail.com, and you want to know how to watch those shows, because we were talking about AI. What's going on with AI and the world and the Bible and everything? I tell you what, it was very interesting. I was here both days, and Dr. Mary Byrne was here one day, and it was just very interesting listening to everybody talk, because I'm the dummy on IT stuff, okay? And I actually learned some things, and that's really good. And so if you want to know how to get on those and see that, just send us a message and we'll do that. So that is a message center. Anytime that you want to know more about how to become a Christian and how to follow Jesus Christ, send us a note and we will answer you. Okay? Okay, so let's get going. I'm Lynn Morris.
And I'm Dr. Mary Byrne.
Yes, you are. And I tell you what, we have a great guest today, a friend of mine and a guest, and that's Terry Bible. How are you doing?
I am doing great.
Well, I tell you what,
I appreciate you having me on here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And I met Terry back in 2012, the very first year as a state rep. He came in January that year with another gentleman in a highway patrol uniform. And I didn't know what he was doing up there, and he told me that he would be seeing me from time to time, and because every time there was a law enforcement bill, they would be coming up there and detailing the bill to all the reps and senators and elected officials, like the governor and different people trying to get support. And I told him back then, 2012, that's a few years ago, that, hey, no, that's not a problem. I'm glad law enforcement bill is going to be something I always support. Hopefully a lot of people support those type of things. And so it shouldn't be very hard. But sometimes even those kind of things turn out to be hard too. But that's how we met Terry. And so what we're going to do today is talk about, to start off with, we're going to talk about and let Terry kind of talk about the history of the Missouri Highway Patrol. And we'll start out there. We'll ask a few questions, and then and I know he's, after what, 27 years in the Highway Patrol?
Yes.
Well, I think he's got a few stories he can tell, and he's not he's not the biggest guy. Sometimes highway patrolmen I see as tall, big guys. I think he's pretty strong. I think he's pretty tough. And
I would suggest taking him on.
and I guess my story about highway patrol, where we started, is unfortunately when I was younger, much younger, I used to get a lot of speeding tickets, and that's not something to be proud of. But my kids, when they were small, I used to tell them, they were in the back seat, and I'd get stopped, and they'd hand me a ticket, and they would say, "Dad, what'd you get? What'd you get? What's going on? What's going on?" And I'd say, "Well, your dad got another good driving award." And so that's what I always told them. And Mandy, one of my daughters, actually was in school down in Ozark Elementary School, and you have show and tell in the first of the school year when you're doing vacations. The teacher wants to know, "Johnny, what did you do with your family, last summer?" And so they tell him. So when it got to be Mandy got up there, and so I'm really proud of my dad. He gets a lot of good driving awards. We were in Florida, and he got another one. And so the teacher she just laughs and laughs, because she knows all the other kids is going, wow, and they're all clapping. So Mandy got a clap out of it, but the teacher knew. So she calls me and said, "Lynn, you'll never guess what Mandy just said." And so that's my
kids
story.
Kids say the darndest things.
Yeah, but that's my story. So now
it's amazing what they say.
Yeah. Well, now you can kind of start off about when did the Missouri Highway Patrol start and all that.
Initially, around 1922, they started initiating and submitting a couple of bills that were looking for a statewide police force. And they didn't know how to do that, so it progressed up to 1925, and they had 5 weight officers.
So who was interested in this? Who's they?
Oh, the state of Missouri.
Okay, so it's
yes, and
maybe
they
state
talked
reps
about
and
it.
senators. They're thinking about it.
Yes,
okay.
And they were looking to create some sort of statewide police or highway patrol service, and so their first attempt was just 5 weight officers, and they were under MoDOT. But as time progressed, there was more support gained, and in 1931, that's when the Highway Patrol was actually formed. And
what was the job description then?
They went through training, and
to assist on the road.
They were given Model A Roadsters, no heaters, had the top down, had a little patrol sign in the front window and a red light up on the front fender, and so they had to wear their hat, which was like a Persian cap, like the old bus driver hat, and they had to wear that all the time. And they were patrolling mostly mud brick style roads, so you could imagine what it was like. And they wanted to be identified as highway patrolmen, and they were driving around with the top down. It didn't matter what the weather was or anything, they had to drive top down. And so they had a lot of support from like different auto groups, like the AAA auto groups, and the Bankers Association, and the Governor Caulfield, and other elected officials.
He was the governor at that time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed, I was doing my own research, And it says, because Dr. Mary works for the Senate in Jefferson City, and that was Senate Bill 36. Senate Bill 36, they didn't have real high numbers of bills.
That goes back, doesn't it?
So I just noticed that. Because we never had these low numbers when I was serving. So, but that was good.
So there was some opposition. We had labor groups because they thought they were going to be picket line strikers because it was the 30s and with the Depression. And we had bootleggers because bootleggers were running alcohol. And then we had sheriffs. And a lot of the sheriffs were concerned because they are deemed the supreme law enforcement officer of the county, and they were concerned with jurisdictional issues. So back at that time, one of the reasons other than traffic control for the creation of the highway patrol was to have that statewide service, because a lot of the town marshals and all, their jurisdiction stopped at the city limits. Mm-hmm. And they would chase somebody, and when they got to the city limits, they'd stop because they had no jurisdiction outside of their small town.
They'd have to pass the baton to the next town. Yeah.
They just let them go. And anyhow, and crime was ramping up and getting pretty rampant back then.
So what going on from that? So, one of the things I noticed, and I've always said, I'm a Boy Scout, I'm an Eagle Scout, and we always were taught to be prepared. That's our scout model. And then also we were taught to always operate with at least two people. You have to have a buddy. So when you go swimming, when you're going hiking, camping, whatever you're going to do, you go with more than one person. And that's why even when I told my grandkids as they were growing up, especially my girls and my two daughters, don't go alone. You go everywhere with a partner. Well, I noticed that Highway Patrol never has two people in a car.
That's right.
And that's, to me, I'm going to tell you that, buddy, that's a little dangerous.
It's not often.
But it could be dangerous when you're by yourself.
Yes. Yes, and I was taught early on that you need to be able to, if you're going to bite it off, you're going to have to chew it yourself. Ooh. So, and I was taught that. And it stands true. Our officers are very well trained. And so there's been a number of occasions where, you call for a backup officer and they might be 30 miles away for the next closest law enforcement officer to come back you up. And sometimes, if you're out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it might even be more sparse than that, depending on what rural area you're in or whatnot. So you just always have to keep that in mind.
Well, I think most people, hopefully everybody, but that's not true, but most people respect law enforcement. But when it comes to the Highway Patrol, I think that more people respect the Highway Patrol. My example would be, as I said, unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough back then, and I got speeding tickets. But if I ever got a speeding ticket, and I did get a few from the Highway Patrol, I was always very respectful, and I took my ticket. Every once in a while, I took my warning ticket, but that wasn't as often as I wanted it to be. but honestly, I was more disrespectful, unfortunately, when I was younger, when a local policeman stopped me, than when the Highway Patrol. And so I wasn't going to be one of those ones that caused you trouble or anything like that. But I do think so. Another question before we get more into the history of Missouri. I was trying to look last night. It looked like most states have some type of law enforcement agency like a Highway Patrol. Do you know, is that's true?
Yes, they either have state police or Highway Patrol, which jurisdiction on that very similar, but they have some different police powers, whether you're police or Highway Patrol.
Okay.
So with Missouri, we're actually a full policing organization. But we've maintained the name Highway Patrol, and
so you're no longer with MoDOT.
We still fall under MoDOT, like our retirement system and our medical plan and everything. And you'll see that around the state, a lot of the Highway Patrol zone offices is what we call them for individual counties or whatnot.
I should tell the audience, MoDOT is the Missouri Department of Transportation.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So we're still an entity under MoDOT.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. And
Okay.
just because we're in Missouri and people are watching in all 50 states, just about every state has something like this. And so I think you're going to gain something out of this conversation. So
It's interesting because you're law enforcement.
Yes.
And so where does the AG come in?
Well, the Attorney General, that's, I guess, the top officer of the state.
Yeah, that's what I would have
so
thought.
we still, a lot of times, like with our cases or whatnot, we'll have a representative from the AG, like an assistant attorney general.
So you collaborate with them.
Yes,
Okay.
and they will come and testify in certain cases or present cases that the prosecutor has referred to them to help prosecute that.
Yeah. What was your
Especially in the high
motivation for joining State Highway Patrol?
Well, I was in the Marine Corps, and I had an interest in law enforcement as I was getting closer then to my enlistment contract. And I rode with my Uncle Dave Kobe. He was a Newton County Sheriff's deputy in Indiana. And on the way home for one of my assignments, I went home for hometown recruiter program that the Marine Corps had. And I stopped at their house and did a ride along with him, and I was hooked. I knew that's what I wanted to do when I got out of the Marine Corps.
Okay.
that's interesting.
So, and I'll point one thing out. A lot of people don't realize that the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy. They were formed under them. So it's kind of like, the Marine Corps could be its absolute own entity, but they still fall under the Department of the Navy. So if that's kind of a comparison I have with the Highway Patrol being under MoDOT.
Okay. Yeah.
Puts it in perspective.
So how many employees, when you retired last year, how many employees does Missouri employ?
Oh, gosh. Counting civilians and everything, there was probably 24 to 2,600 total.
Yeah.
But troopers, they were allotted probably with the various assignments and everything around 1,400.
Okay.
But we've had a little bit of a shortage over the last few years because we did a lot of hiring in the late 90s and early 2000s. And a lot of those guys are like me and they're choosing to retire. And so it looks like recruiting is up for the Highway Patrol right now. And I would recommend it to anybody. But all professions in law enforcement are honorable. And I tell guys that whenever they ask me questions about which route they should go.
So who gets the night shifts?
That depends. One thing you have to do is lead by example. And I learned that in the Marine Corps and even sharpened it even more during the Highway Patrol. If all you ever do is give your subordinates all the night shifts and you don't ever work the late night shifts, then how do you expect them to perform their job well if you don't pull some of them yourself? But night shifts were getting rougher on me. And I retired happy, and it was a very complete career for me.
And now you're running for presiding commissioner.
I am.
And because you couldn't stay still.
I believe it's, it's the thorn that is poking in the side.
Yeah.
And I think I just need a stressor or something there. My wife asked me why I always do things like this to myself. Because
her.
Yes. And I did it on the Highway Patrol too. You'd end up being out late one night and have to go back on the next morning because maybe I signed up for a special assignment or an overtime shift or something like that. And, it's just the nature of the job and my personality.
Well,
just
Lynn
to keep
here's
going.
the presiding commissioner of Christian County. So if you need any advice, you can ask him.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit, and one of the questions too that I've got. So you mentioned civilians. I was reading that last night and doing some study, and said that you had a lot of civilians, and I hadn't even ever thought about that. A department with all the things that the Highway Patrol does. I guess I should have figured that out. That you've got a lot of people that don't carry a gun, maybe, and they don't go out in a car by themselves, and they're not
They're
checking.
the logistics.
Yeah, they're doing all the other important things, operational things back in the office and
That's right.
and things. So I guess it does take a whole team of people, and they would be civilians. I hadn't even thought about that, and I, when you mentioned it again, I thought, well, yeah, civilians are. So even if you weren't going to be like Terry and go out in the car and risk your life to save someone else's life, and he's got stories where he's actually received award valors of pulling somebody out of the car when somebody else maybe didn't, and he saved somebody's life. He's done that more than one time.
Well, let's go there. What's your favorite heroic story?
Well, I don't know that I have a favorite heroic story. I did receive a Valor Award from the Highway Patrol and from the Lieutenant Governor, Mike Kehoe at the time. He gave me a Medal of Valor.
Who's now governor.
Yes, yes. It was signed by Governor Mike Parson.
Okay.
My award was, but it describes it and all. But I graciously accepted it, and it's just one of those stories that throughout my career, and I'll just touch on it briefly. I put in for some different jobs within the Highway Patrol, like public information or recruiting, and I didn't get selected because there was a lot of people that that had interest, and they got selected over me. So anyhow, but I'd get home and tell my wife I got the phone call that I didn't get it, and she said, "Well, it wasn't God's will," and that was always her answer to me. And then once I was working this crash, and where the flames were probably 25, 30 feet in the air, and I went inside this tractor trailer when other people had vacated and worked on getting this guy pulled out. I get done. They're dumping water on me and everything to keep me. And another deputy that joined in, the guy was yelling, "It's hot, it's hot." So they're dumping water on us, the fire department is, to keep us from catching on fire. And anyhow, I got done with that, and I talked with my wife, and I'm covered in soot and blood and everything else from this guy. Paramedics had cleaned me up and everything the best they could, but I had to go change. And my wife told me, she said, "Now we know what God's will was." That's why you didn't ever get those other.
You were there at the right time. Yeah.
You were there at the right time.
Because some people may not have done that.
Yes. Well, I was there with people that would not have done that because they vacated. Right. And whenever I went in, it, not a million, but probably 100 thoughts all at the same time went through my mind, like, "Terry, should you be doing this?" And the answer was yes. And I knew right then when I went in that might be it for me. But I still went in there and did what I did.
That's why first responders.
Oh yeah, first responders are heroes too.
Heroes, yeah, they're
really
honored.
Are heroes, and the military. Yes. Think about it. You learned that. You may have had that in your heart and mind before you even joined the Marines. But any man or woman that serves our military and they're out there fighting today, they're not going to leave their men or women behind.
So, did you ever meet the person you rescued after his recovery?
No, I didn't. But whenever I went in, kind of a lighter side of this, I went in and I asked him what his name was, and I held his hand initially, and he yelled, or he says, Muhammad. And this was on September 10th in 2022. And he says, Muhammad. And I said, all right, Muhammad. I said, we're going to get you out of here. And I said, I'm with you, buddy. And we worked and everything else. Some of the guys joked with me about, oh, you saved Muhammad on September 10th. And, you know, the owner of the company or director of the company months later sent me an email and said, Muhammad wanted to, and I both want to tell you, we really appreciate what you did and everything that day. It was a nice little email, kind of short and sweet. And he said, he closed it with, God bless you. Mm. And I showed that to those guys. I said, looky there. Mm-hmm. He said, God bless you. And, you know, and it wasn't about what, you know, race, religion, creed, anything else. It was about just saving another man's life. Mm-hmm. And I'm very thankful that it worked out, because it very well could have not worked out, you know, and it could have been a lot worse than what it was. So, you know, throughout my career, I saw people getting awards just, you know, for things, lesser things than some of the things I'd accomplished. But I raised my two boys, who are also Eagle Scouts. I raised them with the notion of, do not do things because you expect an award. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And
your Father in heaven, who sees everything, will reward you.
Yes, amen. And
Yeah.
And anyhow, so they lived by that. Mm-hmm. And my wife also told me when I got those awards, she said, you know, all your work is basically paid off. You finally got something that you deserved. Mm-hmm. And you see it kind of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because realistically, it comes down to your immediate supervisor to put you in for an award. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and so to have a supervisor like that actually put that in, and everybody else that supported it, it just speaks volumes to me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be one of those guys that retired on top of my game and happy and everything else. They, you know, the Highway Patrol was going to get a pay raise back at that time when I decided to retire. And they said, you know, you're getting a pay raise next month. Why don't you stick around? I said, and, you know, try to reset your highest 3 years. That's how they do retirement. And I said, no, I'm done. Uh-huh.
So what's your motivation for, I mean, you could have run as a candidate for any number of positions. Why did you choose to run for presiding commissioner?
Well, I believe I have a lot left to give, and I love the community that I live in.
Which is?
In Christian County. Uh-huh. We live in Spokane. My in-laws have since moved in with us since I retired. And I just want to make it a better place to live, work, serve, raise a family, or start a business, or retire.
Yeah.
And that gives me a lot of motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing, is that local communities need leadership to maintain their values. And I know there's a lot of emphasis on people coming from that area to run as candidates. I find that there's a value in having established a network and relationship and being known as a family there. It's not always necessary, but if you are, like I'm a 30-year resident of Springfield, but I'm a transplant. People think I'm okay now because I've been there for 30 years. But initially coming in, it's really true. I didn't know the culture. I watched the values changed. I was attracted to the values. But as I saw more of the progressive influence coming in, I've noticed Southwest Missouri changing a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's really up to the people who cherish the quality of life we have here, who need to step up and run to ensure that quality of life is maintained. And again, I am a transplant. I'm not discriminating against them, but learn who you're governing, learn the history, which is why I'm a big advocate for, one, learning history myself, but two, trying to teach it to others, because you can't govern appropriately if you don't know the history of the people you're governing. You're not going to get that cooperation from your staff, from looking for volunteers to help, like you have to do to run certain activities. You need that network of relationship in order to call on people to help, but you have to appreciate who they are.
Yes.
And that's the key. So tell us a little bit about that, your relationship to the people in Christian County.
Well, whenever I got out of the academy, I went to Troop I, Rolla initially, and then I spent 4 years up there in Phelps and Marys County, and then I transferred down to Troop D, and I've been in Troop D for 23 years up to my retirement. And that's right, about a little over 23 years. And so I was predominantly assigned to an adjoining county to where we live now, but I also patrolled Christian County as well, and I've got thousands of miles on a patrol car in Christian County and have worked several different things up there. And it's ultimately where we decided to retire to. My family has been in Christian County, rooted since 2005.
Okay.
And so while on the patrol,
20 years. You're a transplant.
yes, you could say that. Been in Missouri for 39 of my 53 years, and so in Southwest Missouri. So anyhow, with that, you had to live in the county that you were assigned to, and I took a promotion, and I couldn't even stay in the county I was in and be 0.8 of a mile from the county line. They said, nope, you have to move. Now, they've since changed that to a 20-mile perimeter from the county line, but it was too late for me. And, we had already made this decision to retire, and we needed to move back closer, get as close as we could to my in-laws, because my wife was going back and forth because they were in their 80s. And so once we bought our house and everything, we bought it with the notion for them to move in with us.
So they live in the basement of your house?
Yes. Yes. The VA rep that comes and checks on my father-in-law, he says, you don't know how good you have it, is what, because my wife takes great care of them.
Hey, Terry, one of the things I want, because I think leadership, the word leadership is so important. And it's not just important in government, what you're running for, what I do, what Mary works for. Leadership in every organization, everything that we do, even family leadership. Leadership's everywhere. And tell the people, because this is something that interests me. You've taken a leadership course at West Point, a program through West Point, different places, and a lot of people they may have been in a leader position, but they've never had the training that you've had. Just tell us a little bit about the training.
I've gone through supervision training, management development, and a leadership course called it's a police leadership West Point model. And it was actually given at general headquarters in Jefferson City, but it's a very long course. And they urge all supervisors to take that and try to live that model. And it's going to take years for everybody to make it through it, with fruition and everything else. It's going to take a while for majority of the leaders to get into that. So with those leadership courses, and then also reading in I have a Warrior's Bible that was presented to me. And we've had some sermons recently. It was something. Here I am. I'm reading about servanthood and leadership in service and servanthood in there. And
God knows what you're trying to do, and he picks those topics. He does that.
And then I go to.
He does that all.
I'm
the
reading
time
on
for me.
those in servant leadership and servanthood, and I'm reading those and not knowing what we were going to be studying in church, and then those topics come up. And it's just amazing how things like that fall together. And it just reiterates that what I'm trying to do. It just solidifies it.
Yeah. What
So-
in this servant leadership role, what is the story that makes you smile?
Well, from my own experience, even with dealing people out on the side of the road, I carried Gideon's Bibles in my door pocket during my entire career. Don't know if that was correct or not, but I feel like it was. So I had my road maps, driver's guides, little water patrol books, things like that to give to people. And I had an assortment of colors of those. And often when I dealt with somebody that was going to jail for maybe warrants or something, from absconding from probation, parole, or whatnot, they knew they were going back to prison, and they would ask me about that, if they could have one, and I would give them one. I've had people compliment me, and whether they knew it or not, they'd say, "You talk to me more about life than my father ever did." And those people, I knew they still had some good in them.
Oh yeah.
Some of them had done some horrific things, but I knew they still had some good in them.
And so you had to nurture it.
Yes.
Yeah, and help them recognize it.
And
yeah.
now reading about servanthood and servant leadership and studying that, it just it reiterates that I've been doing that for a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the way you see me now is the way you would see me, 10 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
because I am who I am, and I'm not going to profess to be anybody different.
I think the point, I wanted to make to people is, for anybody out there watching, if you're in charge of a family, if you're a man or a woman and you're in charge of a family or a business or nonprofit, any type of organization, your leadership skills, and you can learn so much of it out of the Bible. The Bible tells you how to be a good leader, and a good leader is a good follower. Sometimes you have to know when to do one thing and when to do the other, and I think that it interests me when I've met Terry and learned about the leadership, because when we're looking at our county, Christian County, 98,000 people, and you have 254 employees, you have 254 personalities, and then I got 98,000 citizens, and I get the brunt of the complaints, and they are all different.
Like this morning.
Yeah, two calls this morning. I couldn't even come into the studio because they had me trapped in my car.
On the phone.
Yes, but it's okay, because we need to deal with those people, and I listen to those people, and then I make a comment, and so those are important. But anyway, we are going to talk about our two sponsors, and when we come back,
I want to know about the
we're
master's program.
You can ask that question. We're also going to give this book away. I am the guy who is the boss on the highway.
On this highway.
And he looks like the boss, the way he's kind of glaring and stuff like that. So I think that's interesting. You can win this book today. We got a couple of books we can give away.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll give those books away. The only thing is you've got to send in to 4321 acts@gmail.com, and let us know, hey, I'd love to have a book. And then you know what? Dennis, he used to own a bookstore, a Christian bookstore, and he knows how to send books to you, and we'll send it to you postage paid. I'll pay the postage, Dennis will send it, and we'll send you those books, okay? And you can share that book with other people, and it's an inspiring story, okay? So our two sponsors today is Brad Pistow, Certified Fiduciary Financial Planner, located in Ozark, Missouri, and I use him, so you need to know that. I actually use him. A lot of my friends and business associates use Brad Pistow. He is licensed in 22 states, so that I want to get that out right away, because I know we got people watching all over the country today, and you're going, well, I'm not in Missouri, I'm not close to Missouri. What would I need Brad Pistow for? Well, let me tell you, he actually has written 2 books, Safe Money Matters and Bulletproof. They're #1 best-selling books on retirement planning, okay? He's the real deal. Some people say he is one of the very best in the entire country, not just in Ozark, Missouri, but in the entire country. He has a staff that will answer the phone, and when you call 417-581-9222, 417, that's why you need this pencil and paper, 417-581-9222, Lisa will answer the phone, and they can send you a book. They can send you a free book. They can send you information. And if you can't come and see him or talk to him on the phone and work with him on the phone, he will find you another man or woman just like him somewhere else that's licensed in your state, okay? Because that's what he knows. He travels all over the country and speaks. He contributes to Wall Street Journal, New York Times, USA Today. I mean, that's how I met him, by paper in Florida when I was on vacation. I was getting ready to sell my stores and my pharmacies, and I needed to have a retirement specialist. And God gave me that retirement specialist in the business section, finance section of the USA Today. He did. And then the amazing thing is, when I got back, I didn't know who Brad Pistow. I thought it was Brad Pistol. And when I got back to Ozark and at Little Sands, you've been over there eating at Sands and meeting people over at Sands Cafe. That morning, when I got back from Florida, I'm eating breakfast with 2 other gentlemen, part of the county work I do, and I heard them talking about Brad, and they said Pistow. And you're not supposed to be listening to people next door when a table
Eavesdropping.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be doing that, but I was, because I heard that name several times, and I thought, oh my gosh, God, is this the man? So I said, excuse me, gentlemen, excuse me. I said, is this guy, is he a financial advisor? Oh, he's the best. All of them said this. He's the best there is. He has saved us money and made us money. And I'm going, wow, God, from Florida in a newspaper to Ozark where I live, he brought the same man to me. That's God. That's God. Okay, so honestly, call that number. Let them know that Dr. Mary and Lynn, Changing Times, sent you. You'll never be disappointed. His motto is this, and I truly, truly believe this, and I know this is what people worry about. That's why we try to bring hope to people. A lot of people worry when they become a senior that they're going to run out of money before they run out of their life. That's what they worry about. I know people out there right now. I know a lot of you believe that you're going to worry. You're going to worry and worry and worry because you're going to run out of money before you run out of your life, okay? Hospital bills, everything's up. There's nothing that's lower price than it used to be, and that's what you're worried about. He's got programs. He's got programs that will never allow that to happen, and so you do need to call him. Okay, our other sponsor, and I don't have any of my notes here to look off of. I forgot to bring them today, but our other sponsor is Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. It used to be Youngblood Motor Group, and that is John Whittaker. It used to be John Youngblood and John Whittaker. Now Recounts, John Whittaker, and Aaron Swanson called me yesterday. He is a general sales manager, and he's a tremendously good guy. And I'll tell you what, so just recently, back last Labor Day, I bought a Nissan. I bought a Kia Sorento. And just, in April, you bought a car?
No, January.
Oh, January.
The Nissan Rogue.
A Nissan Rogue. So we both have bought cars from this dealership. I used to buy Grand Cherokee Jeep Summits, top of the line, most expensive Jeep I used to buy from these guys.
That's when you had a lead foot.
Actually, that was before that time. But they are the best in service. They absolutely the best in service. They're good in price. They just are great people. And so in Springfield, they're at 3838 South Campbell. And people go, oh, okay, well, I don't live in Springfield. I don't live in Missouri. Well, you don't have to worry. If you're 8 states around Missouri, he sells cars every year from 8 different states. Okay, so there are people that drive a distance to do business with them, and they're absolutely really good, and I highly recommend them. And you can call this number 882-3838, 882-3838, 417, let's get the zip code right too, area code, 417-882-3838. And you call that number, and Susan, I always pay attention to who answers the phone because that is really important about customer service. My company, 26 Pharmacies, had the best customer service. These guys do too. So Susan answers the phone every time and gets you to the right person every time. There's no failure to it, and you'll get taken care of. So be sure and tell those guys that we highly recommend them. Dr. Mary and I both highly recommend them, and you won't go wrong. Okay, so that is that. And what's the question that you want to ask?
Well, there is the Missouri Masters for the Highway Patrol, and this is to honor the people who have given their lives as highway patrolmen.
Yes, the Masters is the Missouri Association of State Trooper Emergency Relief Society. It is essentially kind of like what the 100 Club does for officers that lose their lives, in each individual county. However, the Masters was formed by a group of men and women, businessmen and women, and what they do is they actually will take care of like the surviving spouse and child to the best of their ability and give them scholarships and whatnot. If one of our officers were to get killed, they immediately write an undisclosed amount of money in a check to help them get through the times of when they're going through all the troubling times with all the financial stuff that comes immediately thereafter.
Absolutely. So the purchase of this book goes to supporting that organization, correct?
Yes. So my wife and I actually put that book together several years ago, and the Troopers Association paid for the initial cost. And then what we did is we split the proceeds between them and the Masters. And then the Troopers Association has actually released the remaining amount. I've written a couple of checks to the Masters over the years, released the remaining amount. So now what I've started doing, rather than having some of them sit on the shelf, I've been doing things like this. Or
promotional, sure.
Yes. And I tell people that if I give you one of these books, I show them the back page in the book of the book, and it shows how you can get a hold of the Masters and either become a member or make a donation. So in kind, and I tell them any amount helps. So
sure.
Just trying to get anything that I can for them
to serve the servants.
Yes, they've sold at auctions for as much as $125 at a Boy Scouts auction several years ago, and first one was $125, second one I think was $110, and so that's the most I've ever gotten out of them. But anyhow, that's what I'm doing with them now. And they used to be $10. So,
Well, that's a great thing. That's a great reason why you wrote this book, and you and Julie wrote this book, and God helped you write this book because He kept you safe for 27 years. Think about it.
Yes, and the very first poem in there is called "A Trooper Lost His Father."
Oh, dear.
And it was a story about the day that my dad died in Spokane, Missouri. I responded on duty and gave him CPR, and he died right there in front of me. So I was in uniform. I pull in a patrol car, screaming lights and siren going to the house. Pull in, and a fireman couldn't look at me.
Oh. So
I went inside and assisted. Terry, there's nothing we can do, and to live the same exact thing that I'd done many, many times before, but it to be my own dad was really something.
Yeah.
And that was rough. So not long after that, probably within a couple of months after that, I woke up in the middle of the night and I wrote that poem in 20 minutes or less, the completed poem that's in that book. And it's been published in some other magazines as well. And it's actually been recorded as well by a guy that goes by Spirit Walker is his name, and he'd play like Native American type instruments, and oh my gosh, the narration of it is just absolutely amazing. But that's the first poem in the book, and it'll tell you basically about
well, thank
that
you
day.
for doing that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, I tell you what, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this show today. I think that you've heard some hope, you've heard some inspiration, you've heard what it is to be a leader and to help other people before you help yourself.
Yeah, to have a job that makes you a difference maker. That's every day.
Obviously, we have never broke our record. We've been over 5 years now and never broke our record. We have difference makers all the time.
Yeah.
All kinds of difference makers. You can do different things and become a difference maker. And I challenge people every day, try to figure out how to be a difference maker in someone else's life. And you'll have a better life yourself. I know you will. So next week we're going to have another great show. We'll be on next week, and I'm still working on who I'm going to have on the show. I've got 2 choices. But we'll get that figured out. God will help us figure that out. Until that time, God bless you all. Be sure and share this show. If you like this show, be sure and tell. Everybody's got 10 friends, 10 family members, and 10 friends. Share the show. Let them know what you just saw and you liked it. And then let them know how to get on this show and watch this show, okay? You can watch it 24 hours a day. So not everybody's watching it live right now. We realize that, but you can go on later on Facebook, YouTube, a lot of other different social media programs, and you can find our show, okay? And so we would really appreciate our show continues to grow, but we want more and more people to watch our show through Acts Ministry. We really, really do. We care for you. We love you. We hope that you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. If you don't, today is the day. As Terry has seen, when he's covered accidents, people die every day that never expected to die. Don't wait till it's too late. Do it today. See you next week.